Asta has leveled up his anti-magic zone ability and it's completely busted. With every new chapter, we see Asta's power level rise, and chapter 366 has solidified his merit in the eyes of the Black Bulls. All of them have already acknowledged Asta as the Wizard King, claiming he is the only one that can save the entire world. During the Dark Triad arc, it was already proven that Asta was around 2,000 times stronger than anyone in the Black Bulls. But with this new revelation, the gap has gotten astronomically higher. For example, a lot of you probably missed the new novel that was released with Sword of the Wizard King. In volume 23.5, it showcases the events after Conrad, in which Asta faced off against all of the Black Bulls on his own at the same time. Now in Black Clover, we've had dwarves, we've had elves, and now thanks to Lucius and his paladins, we even have the undead, which just so happens to be the 3 of the 15 factions available in Raid Shadow Legends. Yep, it's that time of the year. You guys know the drill. It's the epic RPG available on both mobile and PC. They even have their own limited animated series, which you can check out on their YouTube channel right now. But trust me when I tell you, what I'm about to say will blow your mind. Raid have officially gathered a bunch of data over the 4 years to prove that they are the GOAT. They now have over 700 unique champions, as well as 12 dungeons to explore, all the whilst engaging in awesome PvP combat with over 400 million players across 190 different countries. They've just added a brand new boss, Akumori the Phantom Shogun. This is all part of their new accessory ascension feature that allows you to upgrade your gear to even greater heights. So if you're new and want to try out Raid, use my link or scan the QR code to get a free starter pack with this cool in-game loot worth $30. If you do, it will support the channel, so thank you. Now let's get back to peak fiction. This is before Asta had achieved imperfect devil union via training with Nacht. As you'd expect, Magnus flames are fodder for Asta, as he easily deflects them with his black divider. Locke, Gauche and Zora try to attack, but again, Asta easily defends with his black hurricane. Noel tries to put a future husband in place by unleashing Sea Dragon's Roar, which amounts to nothing as he smirks. Even when they sync together and attack all at once, Asta manages to parry them all away. Just to remind you, this is without imperfect devil union. It is only when Julius decided to contribute by secretly coordinating the attack of the Black Bulls through Finra's magic where they take an advantage. They all combine their magic once again, as Grey converted Noel's water to oil, which Luck then sets on fire with his magic, forcing Asta into the air where Charmy hit him with a surprise attack. This strategy got them the dub against Asta, but as they admit, it was actually all thanks to the brilliant thinking of Julius. And Julius knows better than anyone that an attack of this level was the only chance they had to even have the slightest effect on Asta. At this moment, Asta's inner thoughts were overflowing with admiration for his comrades and the tactics they employed. After using the Imperial Sword from the movie and gaining insight into the past Wizard Kings, he found out that the Black Bulls' teamwork to be reminiscent of the strategies used by the Wizard Kings in battles. The ability to incorporate and effectively utilize those techniques in actual combat demonstrated how truly strong the Black Bulls were. Yet, at that moment, a sense of dread overcame Asta as a massive black slash cut through the sky, forcing Asta to gather all his remaining strength to defend himself against Yami. Matching him, the captain of the Black Bulls proceeded to explain that Asta's control over anti-magic is too weak, leaving him wide open, making his defense inconsistent. But moving forward 100 chapters, we now see in the Hino Country Country, Ryu came to the same conclusion. But since Asta mastered Zetten, he claims in chapter 366 he would no longer lose any more fights, as he destroyed all his weaknesses and fears whilst training there. At the end of volume 23.5, we find out about Asta's goal and what type of wizard king he wants to be. He vows not to battle the Black Bulls again until he knows he can beat them all at once at the same time. Asta claims that in order to become the Wizard King, you have to be stronger than anyone else, and it's through merit that you prove your strength. However, we see him take another crucial step to this goal with chapter 366. Asta continues the path to defeat discrimination that plagues his country. He returns to the Clover Kingdom to what can only be described as a massacre. Bodies! Following the confirmation that Asta was in fact alive by the Witch Queen's foresight, the Black Bulls are now told that the entire world is on course to be destroyed thanks to Lucius. However, as Nox states, the fact that Asta had to be removed from his plan suggests he is the key to stopping it. After all, as we saw with Lucius's battle with Yuno, Asta well and truly is the flaw in his world, as thanks to the Asta effect, everybody's lives have been changed for the better due to his existence. Asta is the reason everyone is stronger than they should be or have survived the current timeline, which is exactly why the Black Bulls are dead set, no pun intended, on sacrificing their own lives to ensure that he makes it through the portal of fate they have created. Damnatio even calls their attempts a desperate suicide attack, as the Black Bulls quite literally match this guy's energy. I love Pakistan, I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan! If this doesn't put into perspective the amount of merit Asta has built up, I don't know what will. Asta, a magicless peasant, is now the one hope for the entire world, where even an entire Magic Knight squad understands that their own life is nothing in comparison. They all attack Damnatio, who has now become a paladin host for Baal. Their plan is to purely delay him as long as possible, and so by using Gorsh's mirror magic to clone Grey, they are all given a huge boost as they can heal on the go. However, things go downhill when Damnatio finds the real Grey. He goes for the kill, but Gorsh appears to save her. Or does he? It's pointless in the end. Damnatio kills them.
Oh no. Anyway,
don't worry, nobody actually dies in Black Clover, as Sekri uses her sealing magic, which can close their wounds and fix the pain. This means everyone can continue fighting despite their deadly injuries, including Charmy, who transforms into her dwarf form. Yes, Tabata hasn't forgotten about this race. Where are the dwarves? Please, Tabata, give us some lore on these guys. Now keep in mind, Charmy was so powerful that the dwarf mode defeated Rill, who was boosted by an elf. It could even no-diff a dark disciple, and it now scales to defeating angels. Her wolf straight up munches their power for breakfast, and then she proceeds to knock 2 of them out. This feat automatically scales Charmy to that of a captain, as Jack's ultimate attack was required to achieve something similar. So together with Noct, they find themselves with the upper hand, defeating angels and biding their time, which is when Damnatio enters tryhard mode using Baal's atmosphere magic. As you would imagine, this means he can manipulate their environment at his own will, and so in the blink of an eye, everyone is brought to a standstill as their magic is destroyed and their bodies shredded. Even Magna's chain deathmatch, which was enough to defeat 100% Lucifero Dante, was literal fodder for Paladin Damnatio. However, when in doubt, you can rely on my go Asta, knowing that they are all on the brink of slaughter. This is the time in an anime where we get a backstory, ladies and gentlemen. We know manga rules, right? When you're about to die, you get a goddamn flashback. So Sekri recalls her purpose in life, Lumiere. Before meeting the first Wizard King, she was ridiculed for her useless magic type. However, together with him, she was not only accepted, but her life was given meaning meaning as she worked with Lumiere to try and further better humanity. Their tool even allowed Julius to revive himself, and the Imperial Sword stored the spirits of all Wizard Kings that have guided Asta, even accepting him. However, after the 500-year war ended with Zagrid, her meaning to life ended with it, but the Asta effect came into play, changing everyone's life, including Nero. Her body was altered by Weg magic, but Asta befriended her and gave her life compassion that royals never did. Let's not forget that Sekiri was alongside Asta being trialed by Damnatio due to being a devil. So the story comes full circle, which is exactly why it's the perfect time for Asta to arrive and finally put an end to his court case. Damnatio tried to give both these guys the death sentence on false claims, but now Asta, the representation of true justice that Lucius falsely proclaims, has come to tip the scales in the nature of good against evil. We can call it poetic justice. Sekiri screams Asta's name, a scene clearly inspired from when Sakura called out for Naruto's help against Pain whilst everyone was dead as well. Now, in chapter 366, we see Asta face off against Damnatio. In this context, he will be killing two birds with one stone, as he'd be saving Damnatio, but also proving to aristocrats like him that Asta is innocent and that devil magic is not inherently evil. It's your strong heart that can control against the darkest emotions everyone has, like Asta mentioned to Dante in chapter 242. Damnatio has one of the coldest lines in the entire story in chapter 364, literally personifying Asta's ideals. Without the sword, the scales are powerless. Without the scales, the sword is mere violence. In other words, scales backed by a sword are the foundation of order. This is arguably one of Asta's most important battles in his journey to become Wizard King, as Damnatio is a royal who is directly related to the current king, and due to the amount of merit it will give him amongst those with power in society, it will be astronomical. This continued the theme from the Hino Country, when he dissolved the xenophobia issue by showing that their skin or color doesn't make a difference, as we are all human. The same is happening here, with Asta not letting a person's status get in the way of creating a better world. It will prove that Asta will even save royals who disregarded him and others as trash. However, ironically, Damnatio claimed that he had the purified soul of Baal within him, but the purest soul of all is Asta. We see a flashback to the Hino Country as Finral appears to take Asta home. This Uber fits an extra passenger, as Ryu instructs him to take Ichika Yami too. Although her allegiance lies with Ryu, Yasuga assures her that he can protect the Shogun because, like Ryu states, it's time for her to meet her brother, Yami Tsukihiro, the man I simp for the most. Oh Yami, I can't wait for that moment. Which is when we get the classic red flag for a death. You better come back alive, Ichika. Studies conducted by experts suggest that 90% of characters hit with one of these do not come back alive. The other 10% are from Black Clover. All jokes aside, Asta finally makes his grand entrance. He's absolutely boiling with rage, seeing all the Black Bulls on the verge of death. They all watch in awe at his back as he charges into battle, as if he's the captain. No, the Wizard King himself that has come to save them. He states, "I will never lose again," as Damnatio realizes his scale magic is useless against someone with no magic. But when he uses Baal's atmosphere, Asta activates a upgraded new power. Everyone realizes Asta's anti-magic has evolved and moves more freely. He pulls out his Demon Destroyer sword to dispel Baal's magic by creating his very own mini anti-magic zone. Finral points out that Asta has become more adept at using his anti-magic, and with his upcoming war with Lucius, Asta's Demon Destroyer sword has just become his most important weapon. Keep in mind, Zetten. This clearly shows his increase in speed and utility, as this was the second problem he had against Lucius in their first fight. He could not withdraw his sword fast enough to activate these spells, but now it's instant and more potent than ever. Remember when he had to train his Zetten? Asta referred to his training as if he was looking into the zone ability that others use. So all of this makes perfect sense. Zetten will be the thing that gives him the edge in physical combat that Lucius pointed out that was his weakness. But the real difference maker is his anti-magic zone that would destroy all time spells, gravity spells, or anything that Lucius decided to throw at him. Even soul magic would not work against Asta. As we see in chapter 333, Asta escaped Lucius's time bubble by letting out a burst of anti-magic as he transformed. He can now do the same thing with just his base form by using Demon Destroy's abilities all around him. Meanwhile, Finral is sacked from his job as an Uber, but instead told to take up the career in medicine, as he's ordered to look after the wounded by Asta. Because, as shonen fans, if there's one thing we love more than our main characters succeeding, it's them suffering and entering rage mode. All the best MCs have them after all. Yuji, Gon, Naruto, you name it. Damnatio continues his ramblings, but Asta points out that there is no justice or judgment in what he is doing, which is when Asta, get this, one-shots Paladin Damnatio.
That's why he's doing me!
Yeah guys, Tabata has just broken the power scaling once again. Remember in the beginning, we mentioned how Asta wanted to defeat all the Black Bulls at once as one of his goals? Well, he's proven with this feat that he now can. None of them could defeat Damnatio altogether, but here comes Asta doing it in one slice. We can argue Yami and Noelle were not present, but that wouldn't make much of a difference since this is base Asta, not even Devil Union being active. The Zetten alone is enough to take down someone with this much power, clearly proving that Asta is the strongest character in the entire series. For example, the most difficult battle any of our heroes have faced thus far comes in the shape of the Paladins and Angels. Back in the Clover Kingdom, it looked like GG for all of them. Jack was killed by a Paladin, even after Yuno activated the Never Never Land spell to give everybody a huge boost. Sis Goleon still had to sacrifice her allies just to keep up with Morris. This shows that even with a buff, the strongest characters in the series still can't defeat a Paladin, whereas Asta has taken care of 3 of them already, which includes one of them being the 3 Kings of Hell, Beelzebub, with no effort at all. We can deduce that the current base Asta would easily defeat Lucifero at 50%. In chapter 336, Andremelech stated that he never believed a human could have achieved something what Yuno did, killing all high-ranking devils within a short span of time and only a year of training. Yet here is Asta with less than a week of training to master Zetten and has far surpassed that. To put into perspective just how powerful Asta's Zetten strike is, check out the video on your screen right now as we prove he can destroy the entire world.